Hello everybody, and thank you for joining me. This is Ciara from Ciara T Designs, and today I'm sharing a tri-fold Northern Lights Slimline card to share with you. So let's jump right in. I'm going to cut down my cardstock to start, and I like my Slimline cards to be 7 by 8.5 inches, and then I score them at the 3.5 inch mark, making them 3.5 by 8.5 inches. And I like to score it kind of in the beginning so that I know what I'm working with. So here you're going to see I'm going to score it at the 3.5 mark. I also cut a piece of acetate down to be 4 inches, and I'm going to score it at the 1/2 inch mark, making it 3.5 inches as well, because it is going to be a part of my tri-fold card. Now I'm going to be honest with you guys, when I sat down to make this card, I had this idea and I had no idea if I was going to be able to make it work. I knew what I wanted it to be, but I wasn't sure if I could get there. So bear with me as we work through a couple of things through this. I did stumble a little bit. I actually had to walk away from this card, which is unusual for me. But we got there in the end, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. So let's kind of take this adventure together. Here you can see that I'm just reinforcing the score line on the acetate. When you guys, I don't record it, but I do work the score back and forth a bit so that the card can open easier. I don't show that because it's literally just me playing with the acetate, but I did do that, so keep that in mind if you think you're going to recreate this card. Now for the Northern Lights portion, I brought in 4 colors of Distress Oxide ink. I started with Salvaged Patina, and I have one of Tim Holtz. I think they're the tiny tools or the mini blending tools. It'll be linked down below if you're at all interested. And then I brought in Wilted Violet and Kitsch Flamingo. You, of course, don't have to do these colors. I like the vibrancy of these colors, so that's why I opted for them. And I opted to use the small blending foams just because I wanted a lot of area for the movement of the colors. Now, I don't think there's any right or wrong way to do Northern Lights in this kind of, technique. It is obviously a very whimsical, and it's my interpretation of. Obviously it doesn't reflect perfectly the Northern Lights, but I think that it looks really cool behind the trees, and that's kind of what I was going for. Keep in mind it does look like a bit of a hot mess before we get all the steps in and add the trees and the black and everything, so bear with me as we kind of work through this. I really wanted the kind of movement of the Northern Lights. That's why I have them kind of coming on an angle. I wanted them to look like they were moving, because when you see the Northern Lights, they kind of dance across the sky. So I was trying to kind of capture that a little bit, and I think I did, but you guys will have to let me know your thoughts on whether or not I got that to work. And I did go back in later and add just a little bit more black soot, just to kind of darken it up a little more. And keep in mind, again, you have to kind of work through the process. Right now it looks a little bit like a hot mess, but we get there, and I think it looks great in the end. I am flicking on some Perfect Pearls because I want some shimmer in the background. And then this is where we start working on the tree portion. So I brought in the Tim Holtz, I think they're the Forest Shadows die. The stamps are actually the Tree Line stamps, so I get them confused every once in a while. But the dies come with these 2 tree lines, and I cut this one with just the 2 trees twice, and then I cut the larger one with, I think it's got 5 or 6 trees. I cut it once. My thought was that I wanted these to go on the acetate and give you kind of a dimensional look, and to do that, I end up adhering some of the trees behind the acetate and some of them in the front of the acetate, and I think that it worked out really well. My only complaint is that I don't know that I had the right adhesive for the job, and you'll see what I mean when we get into it a little bit further, but because I have not found a way to use adhesive on acetate where you can't see the adhesive. And it doesn't seem to matter what I use. I've used multiple different things. I did tests. When I walked away from this card, I did tests on acetate to try to figure out how to hide the glue the best. And honestly, I didn't find anything that worked. So if you know of an adhesive that you can use on acetate that is a little less obvious, please let me know in the comments so that I can check it out. But I went through every liquid glue that I owned, double-sided tape. I used my Xyron sticker maker. I went through a whole bunch of steps to try to do this, and there was just no way to make it work without having some of the adhesive show. And I don't mind that. You'll see it as we go in, but it wasn't kind of what I was hoping for. So now I've brought out my Misti. This is the memory size Misti. It's 12 by 12. Like you can put a piece of 12 by 12 cardstock in it. So I guess it's actually 13 by 13. And I really wanted to stamp some trees on the inside as well. So this is where I brought in the Tree Line stamp set. And I used that just to create some dimension on the inside. Now you could absolutely mask this and add more layers of trees if you wanted to, but that wasn't kind of my intention. My intention was just to have some trees with the Northern Lights inside of the card, and then all of the trees that are kind of the die cuts are going to be on the acetate sheet in front of them. So this is kind of just like an extra little surprise when you open the acetate sheet and you just get some cute trees at the bottom of the Northern Lights look. And I think it just gives it a little more interest on the inside. I did bring out my huge Misti because Slimline cards don't fit in the regular size Misti. And thankfully, my husband actually gave me that memory Misti for Christmas a couple of years ago, and I don't bust it out as much as I should. So this was me making sure that I used it. And I did heat set this. Because I'm stamping ink on top of Oxide, it does take it a little bit of time to dry, and it is going to dry back a little bit. Perfectly okay with that. I mean, if you wanted it to stand out more, you could add like clear embossing powder or something, but I was perfectly okay with it not stealing the show. I just wanted some texture and interest at the bottom of the card on the inside. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. So I am now going to bring in the acetate. And here I used double-sided tape to adhere the acetate sheet. So my idea is that I have my card base and I have the front, but it's going backwards, if that makes any sense. So obviously it's a trifold, so one flips to the left, one flips to the right, and then you have the card panel on the inside, right, that you would write on and whatnot. So for that idea, I am going to adhere this acetate sheet to the back of my card. And I'll show you that in 2 seconds here, but you will be able to see that the double-sided tape shows through very obviously. Like there is no way to hide that. So double-sided tape was out instantaneously as I was working with the acetate as to what adhesives to use. So I knew right here that that was not going to work. But here you can see that I'm building my trifold and I'm just adhering the acetate to the back of the card base so that all of my, like the acetate's going to flip to the right, the panel's going to flip to the left, and then you write on the inside. And my acetate has that kind of clear sheet. It's to help with static, and I usually leave it on as long as I can just because it helps with static, and I have cats and a lot of cat hair here, so I just removed that as we were kind of working through this. And I didn't get my acetate down perfectly straight. It's not a big deal, honestly. I just trimmed the little bit of acetate that was hanging off the bottom of the card because it wasn't worth fighting with. And then here I have a scrap of black cardstock and I have a sheet of holographic cardstock, and I don't know the exact measurements of this. I think that the black one's about 5 inches and I think this one's about 1/4 of an inch. And I really wanted to add them to the bottom. So this is where I brought in my little Xyron sticker maker. And now the problem with this is that I only own the little one. And so it's only, the opening I think is 1.5 inches. So I can't put the trees through it. But this is a great way to use the adhesive on the card. And if I had been more patient, I could have gotten, a 5-inch opening for the Xyron sticker maker because they make them. And, I could have done that and that would have given me the opportunity to run the trees through it. But I didn't because I'm not that patient. And when I have an idea for a card, I want to create the card because otherwise it sits in my head and I can't think about anything else. So I really wanted to create this card and get it out of my head. But after I did this part, like I stuck down this little holographic strip and the little black strip, I had to walk away from the card because I could not figure out how I wanted to go forward with the trees. I slept on it. I came back the next day and I decided that I was just going to adhere them however I wanted to, and you would just see a little bit of the adhesive. Because every test I had done with all of the adhesives that I own, nothing looked great. This was probably the best option. You can still see the adhesive, but because it's so evenly dispersed across the card or like the paper, it's not super obvious. So that would have been the most ideal thing to do. However, I'm impatient, and when I have an idea, I really want to create my idea. So I went ahead and just used my Nuvo Deluxe glue that I love, And I brought in one of those distress collage brushes and used that to kind of help disperse the glue evenly across the surface of what I'm adhering to the acetate. You will be able to see it a little bit, but it's not terrible. And you'll understand what I mean here when I have to adhere the other tree to the acetate from the behind side. Hopefully that makes sense. Because I wanted the trees that are sitting against the Northern Lights currently, I want those adhered to the acetate. So I'm going to put glue on the front of them, and you are going to be able to see it. But honestly, I don't think it's horrible. You guys will have to let me know what you think, because of course I can be my own worst critic when it comes to my own work. So sometimes I'll look at something and be really unhappy with it, and it's not because there's anything wrong with it. It's just because I see a mistake or I see whatever. So you guys tell me your honest thoughts on the card. Try to be kind if you can. Kindness is always appreciated, even in constructive criticism. But tell me your thoughts on this card, because I'm always super interested. So I did cut off this little piece, and this was kind of my test piece. So I added a little Nuvo Deluxe glue to it, and I'm going to adhere it on the inside behind some of the lower trees. Just because I wanted to fill in that space a little bit before I put the larger trees in. And this gave me what I would see for glue, and this gave me my idea of whether or not I was going to be okay with it. I don't mind it. But again, you guys will have to tell me your thoughts, because I'm always super interested in what you guys have to say. Side note, really quick, this week on Thursday should be a live stream, but I have a lot of family stuff going on, and I'm not going to be able to do a live stream on Thursday. So there will be a regular video going up on Thursday at my 7 a.m. PST, like all of my videos do. And we'll just have to do a live stream for not the next Thursday, but the second Thursday, because I do a live stream every second Thursday, except this week, just because I can't make it work with everything I have to get done. So just so you guys are aware. And then I did go in with my white gel pen and just kind of added some rim lighting to the trees in the front so that I could help differentiate the layers. You're going to see what I mean here in a second. If I had not added this, all of the trees kind of just end up blending together, which is fine if that's the look you're going for, but I wanted you to be able to differentiate which trees were in the forefront and which trees were kind of in the back. And then of course the trees that are adhered to the back of the acetate won't have any white highlights on them. And I think that's okay, because it helps, again, differentiate the trees that are in the front and the trees that are in the back. So let me know what your thoughts are. I could have tried to add a white highlight before adhering them, but I honestly think the glue would have probably just ate the white pen and you wouldn't have been able to see it anyway. So I didn't, and I don't think it's missing. I like it. Honestly, for the fact that I went in this thinking that I wasn't even going to succeed at making it, I'm pretty okay with how it came together. I did bring in some star embellishments. You can cut the stars from the same holographic cardstock I used as that strip. There is a die in this, the tree set, that has stars. I just opted to use these really cool embellishments because I own them, and really I'm trying to use some of my embellishments. I'm kind of getting a bit of a stash going on here because I love embellishments, so I am trying to use them up. But there is a star die in the tree die set, so you could absolutely cut your own stars and then you wouldn't have to worry about that. But I put a lot of stars across the background because I thought that would be really fun when it hit the light, and you'll see it here in a second when I hold it up. I also went in with my white gel pen and I added some white dots to the background. I didn't show that because it's not, it's just a white gel pen. I'm just adding dots. But then I brought in the sentiment. So I used one of the Tim Holtz sentiment label stickers. It says "Shine Brightly." I felt like that was very fitting for this card. It's kind of a supportive card, I think, and added a few more stars to the front of the card. I'm going to hold it up here so you guys can check it out in all of its glory and tell me your thoughts. I love it. It came out, well, I had no expectations going into this card because I wasn't even sure if I could pull it off, but I love it. So I hope you guys will tell me your thoughts. I think that it turned out really well, and I'm pretty excited about it, but I'm always really happy to hear what you guys are thinking. So leave me a like, leave me a comment, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. If you watched the whole video all the way through, leave me a star emoji in your comment. It's always really interesting to see who finishes the whole video, and because that really helps the channel, so I want to be able to acknowledge those people. So thank you so much, guys, and I will see you again very soon. Bye-bye for now.